Did you know that some of the most powerful chains ever placed on Africans were not made of iron? They were made of ideas. They were made of fear. They were made of guilt. And very often, they were wrapped in the language of salvation. When most people think about the control of Africa, they think of ships, shackles, plantations, soldiers, taxes, and foreign flags. But force alone does not hold a people for centuries. Before European missionaries arrived with Bible and empire moving in the same direction, Africa was not a spiritual vacuum. African societies already had sacred law, ritual systems, creator concepts, and moral worlds of their own. Africa was not waiting for Europe to discover the sacred. It already had spiritual memory, sacred continuity, and metaphysical depth. That matters because conquest often begins by denying the dignity of what already exists. If Africans can be portrayed as spiritually lost, foreign religion starts to look like rescue. But the premise was false from the beginning. Slavery was driven by greed. Colonization was driven by conquest. But religion often gave those systems a moral face. It helped domination present itself as civilization. Once conquest is dressed as uplift, control becomes easier to administer. In Africa, religion and power often moved in the same direction, often enough that the pattern cannot be ignored. Mission schools, administration, mapping, conversion, and hierarchy worked together. At the Cape, under Portuguese influence, in royal courts and colonial systems, religion often arrived inside structures of rule. Sometimes the gun forced obedience. Sometimes the sermon made the gun easier to accept. This is where the system becomes especially powerful. If the prayer is answered, the institution is validated. If the prayer is not answered, the believer is blamed. You didn't believe enough. You didn't pray hard enough. You didn't wait faithfully enough. And that is how accountability is relocated downward. You stop asking whether the system is wrong. You start asking what is wrong with you. Now we come to one of the most effective tools of behavioral enforcement in religion: hell. The history is more complex than popular preaching often admits. Gehenna refers to the Valley of Hinnom, a real place. And later judgment imagery may have drawn symbolic force from that reference, though stronger claims remain unverified. But whatever its historical development, the social function is easier to see. Submit or else. Conform or else. Accept suffering now or face something worse forever. A government can threaten prison. An empire can threaten violence. Organized religion can threaten cosmic ruin. There are many disputed readings in biblical interpretation, but few examples reveal the pattern of manipulation more clearly than the rapture and the second coming. This is one of the most effective control narratives in modern Christianity. The promise is treated as central. The consequences are treated as ultimate, but the timing is withheld. In 1844, the Millerite prediction failed. History remembers the aftermath as the Great Disappointment. That alone should tell us something about how elastic these texts can become in human hands. Jehovah's Witnesses later attached strong prophetic expectation to 1914, 1925, and 1975. 1914, 1925, 1975. Again and again, dates were named. Again and again, history continued. That is not a minor embarrassment. It is evidence of repeated, confident misinterpretation. And still the promise remains useful because it keeps urgency alive without requiring delivery on a schedule. Stay ready, stay faithful, stay afraid. But no one can tell you when the promise is due. And this is where the structure becomes especially revealing. The event is affirmed. The timetable is withheld. The authorities of organized religion themselves do not make an emphatic timetable pronouncement. To me, that is one of the clearest examples of deferred certainty. Stay steadfast to a promise no one can date. It works almost like being told to keep buying a ticket because one day you may win. This does not prove the Bible is spiritually empty, but it does challenge the idea that it is simple, seamless, and transparently self-explaining. The canon emerged historically. The text was transmitted, copied, recognized, debated, and interpreted. And once a text is mediated through institutions, the real question becomes unavoidable. Who interprets it? Who benefits from that interpretation? Who is told to obey? Who is told to fear? In Africa, all of this had consequences far beyond theology. It did not merely convert, it reordered. And even after formal colonialism ended, the mental architecture often remained. Now the language may be modern, but the structure can feel familiar. Spectacle on one side, private burden on the other. That is what I mean by neo-colonial reverberation. You no longer need visible chains if the mind has learned to carry the weight. God may still exist, spiritual hunger may still be real, but organized religion, as history has often delivered it, has too often functioned as management of thought, guilt, obedience, fear, and power. Because sometimes the deepest empire is not the one standing over your body. It is the one that settles into your mind and calls itself salvation. Agree or disagree? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe for more untold history, power, and memory.